I've been told we have a quorum of 7. So the first thing I'm going to do is request any public comment for items that are not presently appearing on the agenda. In the room? Anybody online?
So we did receive a written public comment, which I posted on the website and printed out a version for all of you at the table over there. Jen, do we need to read out the comment into the record?
Yes, as long as it's not very long. If it is long, we can summarize it.
Pretty long. Want me to read it? I can read quick.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, before I do that, I forgot to call a roll, so let's do that first. We have the meeting.
Okay, Diane Bailey, Stephen Booker,
Present.
Joseph Chen, Michael Clausen, Kathleen Gokul. Here. Mele Kamui,
President.
Aurelio Pizar, Gail Lee. Here. John McKenna, Jason Mendelson,
President.
Cheryl Schaff. Here. Remy Tan. Robert Whitehair.
Here.
Thank you.
We have anybody online for 2449?
No.
Somebody joined us. Joseph. Okay, so now I'm gonna read the public comment from April 2nd, sent to us by Mike Swire, San Mateo resident and chair of the CCAG Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, vice chair of CMCTA Community Advisory Committee, writing as an individual. Dear Energy Board and CAC members and staff, thank you for your service to the county and keeping our energy clean and affordable. I wanted to ask that you continue to make EV charging easily accessible and affordable, especially for those who are unable to charge home. I live in an apartment and thus cannot control access to a charger overnight. My apartment charges $30 a month for unlimited EV charging. It's a lot of money and I don't drive much, so the price doesn't make sense for me. Thus, I rely on commercial and public charging infrastructure. I largely rely on public chargers in the city of San Mateo. These chargers are much more affordable and easily accessible than the commercial level 3 chargers offered by EVgo and Electrify America. I just received notice, however, that the city of San Mateo is raising prices for their level 2 chargers from 26 to 33 cents per kilowatt hour. This is still less than the commercial fast chargers, although much slower than those. Nevertheless, this higher price has roughly eliminated any price advantage that I will have for using my EV instead of a gas-powered hybrid, even at $4.50 a gallon for the gas. I worry that fewer people will move to EVs if there's no financial incentive versus gas hybrid vehicles. This problem will increase in magnitude in future years as we build more apartments on the peninsula and more people rely on public charging as they don't own their own homes. Note that the city of San Mateo has cited rising wholesale electricity rates, parentheses from PCE question mark, as a reason for their 27% increase in retail rates. Thanks so much, and please feel free to reach out with any questions. Sincerely, Mike Swire. And that's part of our record. Okay, is there any other?
Chair, can I comment on that?
I don't think we can comment, but you can make a public comment separately. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a separate public comment. Bill Kovernick did reach out to the city and reached out to Mike, gave him a really good explanation. I personally went over and looked at the charges he was talking about. He's got some issues, but you know what? I'm glad he raised them because some of these things we deal with are just pretty mundane stuff. And I talked to Andrew Chow at the city. Those things are hassle that continue to be broken. Part of the rate increase is for maintenance that they didn't have money for before. And I did talk to Mike too, and I explained to him, basically, you're getting a really good deal for gas, and you're not putting stuff in it. So I thank Mike for sending it out. I thank him for doing that because it keeps it at the top of the list for us.
So you had a couple new.
Great job, thank you.
We've had a couple new people come in. I want to recognize that they're in the role, right? Michael Aurelio and Joseph came. Okay, is there any other public comment or anything not on the agenda? Brandon's here. That's it. Anybody else want to make public comment at this time of items not on the agenda? Okay, great. Then the next thing is to approve the minutes or correct the minutes in the March 13th, 2025 regular meeting.
Through the chair.
Please.
I have this question, and I also want to say, I like the format that you're using on these, where you can click on that little piece of YouTube and go look at it. Back in the day when I first started doing this kind of stuff, some of you would sit there, take a shorthand and write out these 20-page list of minutes. Now we have just that nice little segment. So I want to thank you for that. And I do have a correction I'd like to make. The minutes say evaluate the board's committees and subcommittees, including community advisory committee. What was really said was looking first at community advisory or looking at the community advisory committee first. So it's not just including, we're gonna be looked at first. And I went back and I double checked in what was said, that's what was said. So if you don't mind, I'd like to change that.
Any other corrections or comments on the minutes?
Since I was the one that said it,
Yes.
what I meant to say, I'm fine if that's what the recording said, but just so you guys know. What I meant to say is you guys are hearing about this first. But they are looking at all the committees, that they had, the board hasn't even been told yet, I was just sent to let you guys know. Because of the effect it has on the cause on the recruitment, but they're looking at all the committees, so that was what I meant to say, but the record should reflect what I actually did some order and saying.
Oh, so give us clarification, should we still approve the minutes?
You know, when I heard that night, with all due respect, council member, I was annoyed that we were being looked at first. So I want the record to reflect that. I know what the intent was to include us and then talk to us first, but that's not what the minutes say.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not what the actual broadcast said. So I would really push for it. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you, I get that, but that's what the minutes say.
Yeah,
I mean,
it should
that's what-
reflect what I said, no,
Yeah.
you're exactly right.
I think we do both things. I second the motion to make the correction of the minutes. I think we entered the record what, board member Ragsdale just offered now, which we appreciate well.
That's a great addition, thank you.
Okay. So that's the motion from Robert, and I second that. You get a, and then are there any other corrections to the minutes or anything he wants to say? Is there any public comment on the minutes? Online?
I do see a raised hand from Eduardo. Was this a raised hand for this item or the previous item? I'll go ahead and invite you to unmute. Apologies if I missed you earlier.
Hey, hi. I think I joined just as you were asking any
And
more.
we're hold on a second, we can't hear
We
you.
can't hear you.
Just fixing the audio here. There you go. Try it again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I joined as there was any more public comments, and I raised my hand, but I was too late. Sorry about that. So this is just public comment on general. Is that
Right, it's
appropriate?
not on the agenda. Yes, we'll open that up, please. We didn't see you. For public comments, for items not on the agenda.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So this is about a couple of bills in our legislature. So the first one is about a strong support for PCE's position on SB 540 from Senator Becker regarding the regional day-ahead market through the pathways. And so great job on PCE on that. Thanks for all you're doing on that bill. And then the second one is also another bill. This is from the Assembly, AB 942, which is Assembly Member Calderon, that is proposing to change the sunset for NEM 2.0 from 20 years to 10 years. I believe that the details came out like a week and a half ago or something like that. And I'm concerned about that on multiple reasons. So I'm looking forward to what PCE's take is going to be on that bill. I'm concerned because our contracts say 20 years, and that doesn't look legal to me, but I'm not a lawyer. But it certainly will impact some households, and it seems to me it's also going to impact Gulf PV because that's building on NEM 2.0. The second one is that I think that this bill does nothing about our high electricity rates. NEM 2.0 compensation is high because the rates are high, not the other way around. And then the last thing is that rooftop solar is a great resource, as you guys are going to talk about about DER today. And this bill is only going to encourage households to keep the electricity for themselves, not to share it. So looking forward to PCE's take on AB 942. And thanks for everything. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Eduardo. Sorry about, we didn't see you. I'm okay. I'm sorry. I want to go back to we had a motion and a second. Can we do a roll call vote on that? And this is to approve the minutes with those corrections.
Diane Bailey, Stephen Booker, Joseph Chen,
Aye.
Michael Clausen,
Aye.
Kathleen Goforth,
Aye.
Millie Himuli,
Aye.
Aurelio Pizar,
Hi.
Gail Lee,
Aye.
John McKenna, Jason Mendelson,
Aye.
Sarah Strapp,
Aye.
Remy Tan,
Aye.
Robert Whitehair. Thank you.
Great.
And thank you for making the changes.
Thank you for seeing it and correcting it. Okay, so next thing is my report. I'm gonna be as brief as I can. The first thing I want to do, and I want to thank Robert for pointing this out, is congratulate Aurelio and El Concilio for winning the Sustainable San Mateo Award this last week. I know many of you were there, so let's talk about it. And for PCE's strong participation in those events and making San Mateo as strong as we can in this space and being sustainable. I really appreciate it all, really appreciate that. My next thing is I reported to the board on what we did last time at the last meeting, and I'm glad that the board member Egg's over there, so hopefully you can speak to this too, because you started to earlier. I got a lot of feedback at the meeting at the end about the announcement, because we didn't know where that came from. That was the first we heard of it. And so many of us were concerned since we don't know what is going on there. And so I reached out. I don't know if you got it. I might have just sent it to like Hillsborough generally, but I sent a letter to you and Donna Colson after I spoke at the board meeting asking, and I haven't heard back yet. But the staff has informed me that there is going to be an executive committee meeting on the 14th to start discussing this. I got that packet today and I couldn't find it on the agenda, but then Kirsten explained it's in the chair report of that meeting. So I think part of it is, it would be good, like you just clarified for Robert earlier, to know what is going on, if anything, because specifically for me, in January, I was told, oh, your term is up, you're done, which I didn't realize. And then I appealed that, they said, nope, you've done 3 terms, and then they said, can you stick around until September? And there's quite a few open questions that we'll get into later about continuing working groups or working reports are due in a month. And we'll continue that, what are we doing? Some of us have been recruiting people to join, so we just don't know where things have landed, and that's what I wanted to use my chair report for. Is there any clarification of that? Please,
Just
please.
in
do.
case
If you-
people are
I don't mean to put you on the
online,
spot, only if you know things, if you don't, that's fine too.
I don't know anything, but I think you guys deserve to hear a longer explanation for why I know nothing. So I would just status quo for working groups, keep going. I mean, we appreciate you guys so much. There's the executive committee, I guess they might have just gotten the agenda, but they didn't even know that this was going to be put on their agenda. But they wanted, because of the recruitment, Donna and Sean asked me to let you guys know, because you are so great about, recruiting others for the committee, getting the word out, that recruitment's gonna be paused right now, so please stay on. Recruitment's gonna be paused while the executive committee is asked to relook at all of our different committees, because there's all sorts of procurement committee, marketing committee, there's lots of different committees that we have. Sometimes I don't even know about one and they mention it. I didn't even know there's a procurement committee until like 6 months ago. I definitely could not be on that. But so anyway, and what I meant to say, and I'm so sorry that we were letting you guys know first is what I was trying to say. I definitely understand that that's not what came out, but that you guys were being let know. Now, could be that the executive committee meets and it's like, no, we want to leave everything exactly as it is, but they wanted you guys to know because of the recruitment to give you that. And I guess because to ask you to please stay on, that's the reason why it was like, maybe nothing's happening and it's not like CAC is ending or anything like that. It's just, they want to take a look at all of the different committees that we have and make sure they're doing what they should be doing. So, yes, and we have, so I didn't get your note, but, I'm just L Ragsdale at hillsborough.net.
I think I might have sent the info, but I also sent it to Don. I don't know. I just did it a couple days ago.
Yes, yeah, just for any of you at any time, L Ragsdale at hillsborough.net. Could be about anything, doesn't matter. Yes, and what was the other thing? But I know that Vanessa sent separately the information with regard to the satisfaction survey and the survey, which we had gotten before the report of looking at other CACs and what they do. So I have that actually brought it with me, I don't know why, but just to refresh my recollection, and I had seen it before, but I always appreciate seeing it again. So, and I think she did send all that to Donna as well. So, yes, anyway, I'm sorry for the confusion and we're really trying to give you guys a heads up. I didn't mean for it to backfire, so thank you so much.
We appreciate that.
I don't know if he's got.
Okay.
Chair.
Go ahead.
Can I speak to that? I missed last meeting, but I heard about it, through the network of people I talked to. And it sounded like we were being singled out as a problem committee. Now, it seems like you're saying that's not the case. But
Correct, that's not the
other thing
case.
is that they're not setting aside the recruitment of new members. Sounds pretty serious, like there's gonna be major changes here, you know, so that maybe we're gonna revamp the whole committee, or maybe it's gonna go out of existence, or anyhow, there's some anxiety and uneasiness here. This group, I've worked on this for many years, this group is a very talented group of people, and it just feels like, we're not being appreciated.
Right, no, and definitely did not mean to leave you with that impression at all. And the executive committee is meeting and those are recorded and public. And that'll be on this coming Monday at 10. So if that helps, if you want to take a listen to that.
Yeah, I appreciate the clarification. Thank you. I had the same feeling Mike had when I first heard it. What we looked at first, you know, all the other things he said. We work hard. All of us show up at trade shows, which we show up in our community. We do outreach events in front of city councils. We stand in front of city councils, which is not the most fun thing to do, arguing for reach codes. It's hard work to do that. Gonna feel wrong. I just hope you
Yes,
all
and
recognize what we're doing, the power of this committee.
yes,
We're out in the community gathering information like I did on the EV charging. That's what we should be doing. That's what we all do.
yes, and I know I personally appreciate it, but I also know that the board appreciates, and we would get from Cheryl and now from Jason, the monthly reports. And I know I always feel bad, we don't have a lot of questions, but that's because you guys are so thorough. I'm not gonna ask you a question because you guys, you know, the report is very thorough and you guys have so much more knowledge than I have. You're chosen because of your background and passion and knowledge. And, you know, we're on the board representing our town. A lot of us don't have any background in this. Some do, and some don't. So no, you guys are very much appreciated, and I'm sorry if that message was mangled and then I did not deliver it well.
No, and I appreciate you. You've been here many times. You're now our main liaison, whether you want to be or not. And I really appreciate you being here and being even just in the room, at the board meeting, because I know you know what we're talking about. So I feel like if something
Yes.
goes wrong, you could help clarify that. So I want you to know how much I appreciate your specific help with all of this.
Thank you. And next month I'm not here, and that's not, don't take it personally. I have twins who are graduating from college, luckily different days, so. Yeah, so I'm not here next month. But anyway, thank you so much. And again, lragsdale@hillsborough.net. Anytime, could be about anything. I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment? On my great report. Okay, thank you. Next is Kirsten, who's gonna lead us in the training for, go ahead, Peninsula Energy Outreach Messaging.
Yes, first of all, happy Earth Month, everybody. This one's passed around. So grab a packet that's going around. And so I'm gonna do a quick training because so many of you did sign up to help us out at Earth Day events. So we're gonna get you feeling confident to do that, or just on a refresher on our key messages when you're just out in the community, because obviously you all talk about your ambassadors, your liaisons, not just Earth Day events, but you know, just in your daily lives. So I just want to share with you the same talking points that we train the staff up on. So everybody get a packet, and we're gonna start with the residential brochure here. This will be reviewed for some folks, but for some folks, so just hang in with us if this is review. So when you open up the residential brochure, you'll, first of all, who can find the name of a former CAC member in the residential brochure? Desiree. Where'd you find it? Right here. All right, found the Easter egg. So we got quotes from,
And current alternate board member.
and current alternate board member. We have a quote from Desiree saying it's 100% clean energy for all. Whether you own a home or rent, it's also easy and you're automatically enrolled. So there's a good talking point there. And then I quote from one of our friends in Los Banos, that Peninsula Clean Energy costs less than PG&E. Who doesn't want to save on their electric bill? So some, and 143 million. I think that number is actually up to 180 million because it goes up each month. So next time we print, we'll increase the customer savings. Then, but the key to this brochure is when you open it up. Because it's got the how it works, a graphic. And this is the number one reason I reach for a brochure when I'm explaining Peninsula Clean Energy to anybody. Is I can point to this and explain what electricity generation is by pointing at the fact that we generate electricity from clean sources like wind and solar and water. Then it comes through PG&E's wires. I was floundering around trying to explain this in Spanish earlier this week at a training. And one of the promotoras we worked with said, you know how I explain it? I say that Peninsula Clean Energy has all the clean energy you want, but they don't have a way to get it to you. And PG&E is the host. And so we just, so you got to send it through PG&E's host. Like, oh, okay, well, that's simple. You know? And then, of course, everybody saves on their PG&E bill. And there's a mock-up of the PG first page of the PG&E bill down here that shows the two lines and shows the PG&E electric delivery charge and the Peninsula Clean Energy electric generation charge. A little explanation over here. One of the biggest misconceptions about Peninsula Clean Energy is that we are an extra charge on the bill, because you all have heard this before. And so that's what this little graphic helps you explain, is that it's not an extra charge, it's just electricity itemized for these two different services here. And that in fact, electricity generation rates, we set them at less than PG&E, and currently that discount in San Mateo County is 10% less. Remy.
Yeah, actually, my bill looks different than that because on the PG&E side, you know, you have the electric delivery charges, and then you have PG&E's electric generation charges. And because I'm enrolled in PCE, PG&E gives me an electric generation credit. It basically cancels their electric generation charge. And I would check every month, make sure that that credit is bigger than the PCE one, which is that would be the savings.
Great.
You know,
I
I
think
think
you're thinking
I have like 2 or something percent because I have the Echo 100, but
right,
which is the Echo 100 is even cheaper nowadays.
right.
So we should put that in there, because that'll make it very clear, because this is not right there.
Right. This is actually what pretty much everybody's page 1 looks like, but I think you're thinking of page 3, which is the breakout of the PG&E charges. And you're right, that's where the generation credit shows up, and it gets a little more complicated if you're a solar customer. But everyone's the first page of page 1 looks pretty much like this for all customers. So if you, but you're right, that page 3 has the generation credit, which you can use to compare to page 1.
And that's a very important number, and I think it
Yes.
should be somewhere, some abbreviated version that should be in here, so it's clear.
Yeah, and that's
When I read this, it looks like it's an extra charge. I mean, if I don't know anything about the bill and I just look at this page, I see, oh, well, there's 5912 Peninsula Clean Energy, it's an extra charge.
Okay, thanks for the feedback. And that's important for folks who are using the brochure to explain. All right, great. And so now I'm going to go to the outreach messages. So these are the messages that after speaking with the thousands of customers, we literally, like my team talks we talked with 5,000 customers last year in outreach, in 110 outreach events. So these are the phrases we find ourselves repeating the most. So we wrote them down for you. People ask, what is Peninsula Clean Energy? And y'all will have I mean, if you've done this for a while, you'll have your own way of explaining this, but this is how we like to explain it. It's a collaboration of local governments. It's co-founded by your community to address climate change. And you probably already have it. It's an automatic benefit of living in your community. I like to say automatic benefit instead of automatic enrollment because it is a benefit and it's friendlier than saying enrollment. Provides clean energy at lower rates, meaning you're helping the environment and saving a little money on your PG&E bill. And we also offer thousands of dollars in rebates, electric cars, water heaters, and furnaces.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
We've been doing this a long time.
Uh-huh.
We always say it was co-funded by your community to address climate change. I don't remember us ever saying.
That
That's a
might-
great thing to say.
That might have been an improvement over the last time you saw this.
Yeah, that's really, I don't remember saying that. I thought we just always said, we did it. I was like, this is a hate PG, but that. I thought we said it, I thought we
That's not
said,
everyone.
I thought we said we did it to make it, was community choice to control. I think we were so explicit about that. I really like that. I want to thank you for adding that if it's new.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think also, like, we founded PCE 8 years ago, and I think that at least in San Mateo County, concern about climate change, and knowledge about climate change has increased since then. And so it lands better than it used to, right? So I'm more explicit. I'm less explicit when I'm at Los Banos, but in San Mateo County, yeah, I'd go ahead and say, we address climate change, and people are like, oh, good. I almost always get a positive response to them. Yeah, good. So then, of course, people ask how it works, wherein I will pull out the brochure and point to the graphic that Peninsula Clean Energy makes or generates your electricity from clean sources, and PG&E delivers it to you through the power lines, and PG&E, of course, does gas. And Peninsula Clean Energy is not an electric charge. The electricity part of your PG&E bill is just itemized into 2 lines for those 2 services. And the Peninsula Clean Energy rates are less than your PG&E rates for the same service, and that's an everyday discount. And what are the benefits? Where it says you save at least 5% on electricity generation portion of your PG&E bill. That's a conservative statement on purpose because it's going to be evergreen. Right now, the discount is 10%. We're saying at least 5% because that discount may change, but it's always going to be at least 5%.
Are you comfortable with us saying that it's currently 10%?
Yep.
We can't say that right now?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So there's no situation where somebody would be paying more to have PC service.
No residential situation I know of. Eco 100.
Whether you rent it, you're not told that.
Well,
Oh.
the reason I'm asking that question, I was
Yeah.
talking to somebody fairly high up in the hierarchy here in Sanfield County.
Uh-huh.
Who just claims they are just so happy to pay the extra amount that it costs for PCE.
Eco 100 customer.
Might be one.
No, they're not.
Oh,
I asked that question, so.
well, then they may
Could
get
could I,
confused.
could I send that name to you? Because they didn't believe me, and that's somebody fairly important, and
Yeah,
I can explain to you later.
yes, please do. Thank you.
Okay.
Happy to have a
Yeah,
chat.
I was disappointed when I heard this person say it,
Okay,
and surprised,
yeah.
because it's, okay.
We
That's
always
that-
have more work to do.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's not a blast, it's just that,
Yeah, no, I believe it. We always have more work to do.
okay, thanks.
Sure.
I just wanted for context, is PG&E doing any clean energy procurement? And they are,
Yes.
like, I mean, can you give us a percentage or something so we can, I know that ours all is renewable. Or clean,
Yeah.
and so just in case we're asked,
I can get that to you later.
okay, but they're doing some. They're doing-
Yeah, no, actually, they're quite clean now. And one of the reasons why they're quite clean is because the CCAs have taken so many of their electricity generation customers that they have fewer customers. And so they are able to serve those customers with cleaner energy because they have fewer customers to serve with their energy. So we help clean up PG&E's energy mix, win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, PG&E's energy mix is quite clean now.
That begs the question, what is the percentage now of PG&E customers that get their power from CCA?
A
Couldn't tell you right now, but we can find that for you later.
That would be a good number to tell community advocates
Yeah.
what is happening across the state.
Yeah, no, it's a big number, and I think that number is on the Cal CCA website. Yeah, I don't have it at the top of my head.
This, dealing with the distinction between PG&E and Peninsula Clean Energy is important.
Yeah.
Like I just applied, I found out I got a new electric vehicle and I can get a rebate from PG&E. Right.
Mhm.
So that I can see that, oh, that's great,
Mhm.
but I can see people get confused. You can get a rebate from Peninsula Clean Energy, you can get a rebate for, not for the same thing.
Mhm.
So it's people who don't know much about this say, well, how come there are these two operations that do very similar things?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's where you say like. Peninsula Clean Energy was founded by our local communities to
Yeah.
fight climate change.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah.
Well, obviously not why PG&E was founded, you know? But that also brings up a great point, Michael, that that our customers are customers of both Peninsula Clean Energy and PG&E,
Right.
and we encourage them to take advantage of programs and offerings from both.
Right.
So you can get a rebate on an electric car from PG&E and from Peninsula Clean Energy, and you can stack all that and get the best of both
Yeah.
worlds, and we absolutely encourage our customers to do that. Oh, yeah, Kathy.
I had a question and also something to add to that. I would say one reason is to go with PCE rather than PG&E, or what's the point of the difference, is that, and you kind of alluded to this, that PCE is not serving shareholders. PCE is plowing its resources back into, or its revenues back into the community, not enriching the shareholders. So I think that's a really key point. When I bring that up with people, they seem to really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question I was gonna ask is, Eco Plus, is it still 50% renewable? I thought a while back I heard that we were actually greater than that.
It could be, it's at least 50% renewable, but the amount over 50% changes a little bit each year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 100% clean energy. Yeah. But the extra 50% is often large hydro, which is not technically renewable under the state definition.
Okay,
So it's
I thought
clean.
we've gone beyond the 50%, but,
Yeah, it
okay,
probably is, but we say 50% because
It
next year it may
fluctuates.
be a little less. I mean, it's always gonna be at least 50%, but we said like 52%, then next year it might be 51, you know?
Do you have, in the past, we had the cards that showed the attribution list?
Yeah.
Do we have, are those still in vogue? Can we use those? Nobody understood them, but they were useful. No, but it was useful if, when somebody asked a question like Cheryl asked, it was useful to have it and say, this is from whatever, date, November of 24, this is the data.
Yes,
We
that
have
is
those
the
too.
joint, oh wait, no, that's the other thing. That is the power concept level, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
this one
Vanessa,
is
all right.
PG&E's
Uh-huh.
to answer Cheryl's question.
Oh,
But I can also pull up Peninsula Clean Energy's. Or I'll.
I think it's useful to have it for the person that really wants to know at these earth figures.
yeah,
That is something I've shown quite a few times in the past.
Ours for 2023 looks substantially similar.
This is the most recent year, which is 2023.
yeah. So, and one of the biggest difference between Peninsula Clean Energy and PG&E's power content label is like the nuclear. The PG&E has 53% nuclear on the space side. So depending how you feel about nuclear.
Kirsten, wasn't there a discussion about only offering one option going forward?
Yes, so phasing out the Eco 100. You're right, that is a discussion and that is an ongoing discussion. Yeah, and honestly, most of the Eco 100 customers, or like the bulk of the Eco 100 business, I should say, is large commercial customers that subscribe to it because it is third-party certified and they need that for their own internal corporate goals. There's, and for total value residents, yes, we're automatically enrolled in it. And a few like fabulous, like, green folks, probably like yourselves, but we have really pretty low residential enrollment in Eco 100. The bulk of the business is big commercial.
Sorry, it's been a long time since I signed up for power. You still have to opt out in order to get into Eco 100.
You have to opt or opt out to PG. default in non-Pearl Valley is Eco Plus.
Okay, what is our default if I'm a new customer? I'm sorry to ask this question.
Yes.
Eco
I
Plus.
don't
Yes.
remember.
No, that's a great question. The default, if you do not live in Portola Valley, is Eco Plus. So that's the product that has the 10% discount. So that's the other reason to go with PG, I mean, to go with Peninsula Clean Energy, is just, you're gonna save money. And so yes, the default is Eco Plus, and if you want Eco 100, then you contact our call center or go online and you actively choose it. Or if you have Eco 100 and you want to go back to Eco Plus, you do the same.
Can you opt out, go completely to PG&E?
And you can opt out completely and go.
Thank you, but I know that question's gonna come up at the, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
Robert gave you on the thing, it says you can go to Twitter, which isn't Twitter, but it says X, go back to opting out.
I'm not gonna want to cut that piece out.
Jason, I have the Peninsula Clean energy sources over
oh,
here.
great.
And so
Okay.
this is on our website under our power sources page.
Okay.
And so if you find yourself in a conversation with a community member and want to pull it up to show them, you can find all that information.
We used to
here.
have that at the table. We had that card with this on it at the table.
Yeah, we have stopped bringing them to the table
Okay.
because not a lot of people were super interested, but we could pack a few for Earth Day because those tend to be, especially the Love Your Earth festival, because those tend to be more of the diehard environmentalists who might actually want to know.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah,
Which card is this, sorry?
at the power content label.
Content.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then this brochure probably should be updated because the Eco 100 is not an upcharge, it's actually lower than PG&E.
Oh, it says that.
The Eco 100? No, it says, if you want to do more for the environment, upgrade the Eco 100 at a small additional cost.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I think at one point in time, a long time ago, it was a little bit more, but I've had it for a number of years. It's always less.
Right, it's additional cost compared to Eco Plus, I think is what we're saying,
Oh,
but it's not additional cost.
Not-
Yeah. Or I guess that depends on the Jimmy's rates.
yes.
And my question was, is it 1 cent per kilowatt more than Eco Plus? Okay.
That may have been what that person.
Oh, you're right, it's 1.5 now. We recently raised it because the price of the third-party certification.
That may have been what that person I was speaking with was confused about, but even then, it's still less than PG&E.
Maybe at the moment. I think it depends on the current PG rates, but not right now it is, because we have a 10% discount. Yeah.
Is PG&E gonna lower the rates?
If it can't, once in a blue moon they do. Okay, but usually we lower our rates along with them.
What PG&E's been doing, they've been raising their what was it called? Distribution
charges, yeah.
charge. Because they have less power to sell. So, they don't have that revenue to kind of do all the maintenance on the distribution, so that's going down. So, PCE definitely needs to be less than PG&E. Because at some point, the customers are gonna end up paying more overall. Because the increased charges on the delivery charge for distribution charge.
Ah, right.
You're not in the business to lose money, you're in business to make money for the shareholders.
Right, so that's another interesting point you bring up, that Peninsula Clean Energy and PG&E, or customers that have Peninsula Clean Energy and customers that have just PG&E all pay the same delivery charges. Whether you're a CCA customer or not, the delivery charges are the same.
What I'm saying is PG&E's raising those
Yes.
delivery charges overall because they have less of a customer base
Mhm.
on the energy because of all the CCAs. So that's why they don't like us CCAs.
I can't speak to why PG does things, but
They're a for-profit company.
yeah, all right. So moving on to page 2, some talking points on our programs, which you all love. So we save thousands of dollars off used electric cars, and we even sometimes tell the story of the $300 Chevy Volt. In which a customer went through our EV advisor. And they're income qualified and they were eligible for a bunch of stacking rebates. And they were interested in buying a used Chevy Volt that was $16,300. And they ended up paying $300 because they got 16,000 of stacking rebates. Apparently, a lot of our customers are now getting 20,000 stacking rebates off a used electric car. So when I say thousands of dollars of used electric cars, it is really thousands of dollars off of a used electric car. I mean, we put in 2,000, but there's so many other rebates out there if you're income qualified. So no one's going to give you $20,000 to buy a gas car. So it's really the cheapest, used car in some cases that you can buy for like a relatively newer car. Of course, thousands of dollars off heat pump water heaters, space heating. If your water heater breaks down, we'll replace it within 48 hours. Free electric appliances and minor home repairs for income qualified homeowners. 0 interest loans up to $10,000. And you may be able to take advantage of other incentives as well. Go to our new website and look at the incentive finder to see what you qualify for. And then number 4, oh yeah, go ahead.
Just one thing as a talking point has been really helpful for talking about all the different rebates and everything is that a lot of homeowners will ask, well, isn't it more expensive? And in some cases, a lot of cases, actually not more expensive. It's actually less expensive after rebates and everything to go for the electric appliances. But in a lot of other cases, it might bring it so that if you were to have a appliance like a furnace or a water heater reach end of life, then the rebates and incentives will bring it down to the same cost, if not a little bit better. And because it's more efficient in future operation, it will cost you less in the long run. So I feel like that has also helped a lot because people get sticker shock and they say $15,000 heat pump, but then you apply rebates. Okay, well, then this would have been the same as just getting a new gas furnace. So just get the heat pump because it's the same. My 2 cents.
Thank you, Joseph. I know you do a lot of outreach, so thank you. And then number 4, if folks say, oh, my PG&E bill is so high, then encourage them to look to see if they can qualify for CARE or FARA. Those are discounts. CARE is a 20%. Oh, we talked about this last month. So you all know about, Aurelio told us about CARE last month. The next line says sign up for LIHEAP assistance, but all the federal LIHEAP employees were just fired. So I don't know what to say about LIHEAP right now, and I think neither does our local administrator. So maybe don't mention LIHEAP. If you have a medical device, sign up for medical baseline discount. And this is a discount that is not income qualified, as Aurelia mentioned last month. It is just qualified based on whether you have a medical appliance or a medical need for additional heating or cooling.
You just need a doctor's note.
Yeah.
Be honest, and it's 1 or 2 page form, right?
Yep. Yeah. Okay, great. And then finally, a really important point is if you get asked a question that you don't know the answer to, but you think maybe you kind of know it, resist the temptation to make a good guess and just because if you're wrong, you may inadvertently be spreading this information. So what we ask you to do is just say, you know what, I'm going to help you get the answer to that question. Pull out your cell phone, your smartphone, write an email to info@peninsulacleanenergy.com. Ask the customer if you can include their information as well. Write info at and say, Mr. Smith of X, address has this question. Can you please help him out? And within 24 to 48 hours, our staff will respond with a response. And so that's really or if somebody has a specific question about their own bill. So that's a super easy way you can make sure that customer gets a response. Just
Clarification on the email address, info@pencleanenergy.com.
yeah, either works.
Great.
We have, yes, so for both our website and for our emails, if you shorten Peninsula to Pen, it also works because Peninsula is a really long word to spell out.
No one knows how to spell.
Right, how many ends? Uh-huh.
First is something I've tried, and I just want to know what you think about this. I've tried to say to people, your bill would have been higher, and if they bring their bill, I can look at it and say, it would have been higher by this amount. And I always say 10%, I'm not 5%. Is that effective in your mind? Does that
Yeah.
communicate to people?
Yeah, often what I say is, yeah, you get a 5% discount or 10% discount in electricity generation. It's a little everyday savings, but the important thing is that we're fighting climate change and people think, oh, okay. It puts the fact that it's not a big discount in perspective. If you emphasize the discount isn't really why we're here. The discount is a nice to have, but we're here to fight climate change. It's about the clean energy. It's about saving the planet for our kids, and the discount is nice. And I think that puts the discount in perspective.
Okay, so the discount's not.
Yeah, it's a nice little everyday discount. The real reason we're doing this is to address climate change.
The mistake I made in the beginning is I would just say the 5%. The way my bill was 100, it's not 95, it's 99, because it's just that component that's the generation part.
Yeah.
You see the two charges, I see the PC charge, I think that's an extra charge.
Right, let's say, yeah,
That's,
it's always tricky. That's, I will stand up in PC, that is the Public Utility Commission's fault. They mandated how the bills work. We spent the first 3 years just trying to do something about that, and we could do nothing. Okay, go.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm going to do a quick, also in your packet, we have a couple of we have our brand new programs flyer. It is super simple. We consolidated all of our programs flyers onto 2 pages in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog, and with a QR code to scan. And so basically what this says is just a little teaser text to get people interested. And then we ask them to scan the QR code to go to our website and learn more. And they can view our website in all of those languages.
This is good.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I think it's good.
It saves on paper for sure, because we used to have different flyers for all the programs and we had them in different languages and it was a lot of paper.
are you gonna use this one at the next events? And
Yes.
can you still use the old ones, or should we just throw them away and add something?
And you can use up the old ones. But we will start using these. The old ones might have slightly different numbers on them, but use them up.
Well, you're second.
Yeah, or recycle them. And then also, there's the piggy bank flyer. Find the next Easter egg, find the name of the current CAC member on this flyer. It's in the email.
Oh.
Mhm. Yes, so we refer folks to Aurelio to sign up for care discounts.
Yes. Cool.
Aurelio, do we have the right phone number?
Yes.
Yay, okay, good. Well, we did. So, okay, good. Now I'm gonna do a quick demonstration of how you actually get people's attention, because that's happened. Yes. Events, of course, there's a lot of fun things to look at and a lot of and so in order to get people to come to your table in the first place, you have a bright, colorful, loud, fun wheel. And notice it has images on it. And so, and those images correspond to some trivia questions which are in your packet. So we'll say something like, hey, want to come spin the wheel and win a prize? And of course, kids love to spin the wheel. And
Get some parents over there.
yes, oh, exactly. It's a kid magnet. And then while the kids are spinning the wheel and one person is working with the kid on the trivia questions, the other person approaches the parents with a brochure and asks, do you know about Peninsula Clean Energy? And if not, you help inform them. But meanwhile, with the kids, okay, we just landed on the Earth with a thermometer. So look up the Earth with a thermometer in your handy little guide here. Wait. Oh, okay, the globe. Globe, that's what it's great. Okay, now notice we have trivia questions, level 1, level 2, and level 3. So I will gauge the age of the person who just spun the wheel. If they look like they're about less than 5, then I just ask what color this is. And then we say, yay, and everybody wins, they get a prize. If they're maybe like a little older than 5, then I might ask like what, but less than maybe 4th grade, between 5 and 4th grade, I'll ask them like what the symbol is, and yay, you get a prize. If they look like they might be 4th grade or older, 4th grade is supposedly when kids learn about electricity in school. So at that point, you can start asking them questions, like what is something good you can do to help the planet? What is one thing, how is, yeah, so that's the easiest question for what's one thing you can do to help the planet. And we accept pretty much any good answer. If they're way off, we'll guide them to a good answer and then say, yay, you win, and they get a prize. Everybody wins. It's all about having a positive response and reinforcing what they know or educating them on a little bit. And while somebody else talks to their parents. So we have level 1, level 2, level 3 questions. Because if you have a more informed person who comes and spins the wheel, for example, at the Love Your Earth Fest, we have a lot of deep environmentalists, you may go straight to level 3, which is the harder level questions, and try to stump them. So what is the most impactful policy that local governments can pass to address climate change? Reach code.
Yeah, but then you have to explain what a reach code is.
Well, what a wonderful opportunity to explain what a reach code is. So yeah, always kind of size up your customer and see what level you think they're at. Okay, I think we've gone a little over time. So I think that I'll leave it there, but any final questions about how we can use this? Okay, great. Thanks again to the folks who signed up to help us with that.
Oh, on this brochure, it says free of finance replacement for most qualified customers, but the picture shows the installation of solar panels.
I think we should update that. Yeah, I think that's probably not ideal.
And if you do have solar rebates, there should be another bullet point somewhere.
Well, what a wonderful transition to Peter's talk.
Before we do public comment, any public comment on the topic we just discussed, online or in the room?
What?
Great. Go ahead, please.
It's on the
All right, I will. But Eduardo, to unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted now. Hey, a quick comment here. I got into a very long online conversation with somebody that kept claiming that PG&E was cheaper. I think we nail it down to when people switch from PCE to PG&E for a few months, they are on real-time rates.
Yeah.
So it is possible that for a few months, PG&E is actually cheaper. So that was the only corner case that we had. And the guy was totally strong-minded about that. And so just in case you find one of those cases, that was the only corner case that I found. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Eduardo. That's a super important point. And we actually ran into a bunch of this in Los Banos, like soon after we enrolled our customers there. And we have a pretty hefty opt-out rate in Los Banos. And the rumor started going around, opt out and save money. And it was because the provisional rate, when you opt out, you get a choice of whether, when you opt out, PG&E isn't ready to take you back immediately. They will take you back after 6 months. So you get a choice of whether you stay with Peninsula Clean Energy for 6 months and then go to PG&E, or whether you go on a provisional rate for 6 months. So for a while there, that provisional rate was actually really good. It was less than PG&E, it was less than PCE. But then, of course, you're going to go to PG&E and then you're going to pay more for sure. But yes, you're right, Eduardo. Some people, if they have good timing with the provisional rate, they will save money for 6 months and then they don't pay more for the rest of it.
Yeah. It was a very long next door discussion about that.
Yeah. Good
Then
point.
the word gets out to everybody.
Yes, then the word gets out to everybody and that, yes.
Was that only Los Banos that had that low provisional rate? Is it
That was
different?
the state. It was a state.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay, great. Thanks, Eduardo.
Could you explain the provisional rate?
Oh, no, sorry. I can't explain the provisional rate. It's sort of floating market rate and
So it can be higher and it can be lower when the switch.
it's very volatile. Usually it's higher, sometimes it's lower. Yeah.
We can follow up with the. After.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's continue on to
Peter.
Peter.
Yes, hi folks. So Peter Levitt here. I am our senior manager of distributed energy programs. We've been running distributed energy programs for years at PCE. And we wanted to come to you. Oh,
Feel free to use that.
oh, thanks.
Microphone.
Yeah, I was like, is this the mic? No. Oh, it is. Is it also the mic?
Is this a clicker?
It's not the clicker, right? Yeah, cool. I was like, double mic, okay. So we've been running DER programs at PCE for years. We'll explain what DERs are. And we were instructed by the board to create a distributed energy resources plan that extended out through 2030. So we're here tonight to distill our recommendation around what that plan consists of. So talk through some of the concepts and componentry and have a discussion. Here we go. Okay. So the agenda here is to talk about how this dovetails from our organizational strategy that we just developed, to explain some of the definitions and provide some context on what we've done to date. Also, what have not PCE done, but what DERs exist in our service territory today. Some of the benefits of DERs, barriers to their deployment, and then we'll get into the details of what our goals look like. So, as you folks are all aware of, we just concluded our process of creating an organizational strategy. Or we are in the midst of creating that strategy. And one of the pillars of that strategy is that over the next 5 years, PCE will prioritize efforts to accelerate the deployment of carbon-free DERs in order to support further innovation and market transformation of these technologies, accelerate GHG reductions, and provide customers benefits in energy resilience. So, the general things that we plan on working on through 2030 include developing actual DER projects, providing financing, leveraging our healthy balance sheet to directly finance project development, provide consultancy and technical assistance, either internal or external, and also to leverage our strong policy arm and advocate for the things that will help DERs proliferate. So we're going to get into what all that looks like, but those are kind of the key tenets of the levers that PCE can pull from our perspective. So I know that not everybody is familiar with the term DER, so let me just explain what that means. Distributed energy resources, or DERs, are assets on the distribution grid, meaning they are not big resources, but they're often located at customer sites, or they're directly connected to the distribution grid as compared to the transmission grid. And we'll explain what that means in a second. They're either on the customer side of the energy meter, as in they're located at a customer site, and that's behind the meter, or they're in front of the meter and directly connecting into the grid as opposed to a customer's site, and that's front of meter. They can be used either individually, so you could have just one battery in your garage, or it can be a whole system and orchestration of resources that can comprise DERs. And importantly, we're going to focus on clean DERs, so not resources like diesel generators, for instance. So the way DERs fit into our energy programs team is that we kind of see them as one of the 3 legs of the stool. And some of you are probably, if you've been around on this committee for years, like Michael, for instance, you've seen this graphic a dozen times. So
the three legs of the stool are building electrification, transportation electrification, and DERs. Commonly, DERs are solar and battery storage, but really, it's actually a mix of all these technologies. It's anything that can be sited at a customer location and have its electricity usage moved around. That's kind of the way we see DERs, is that a heat pump water heater could be a DER because you could tell it, don't heat up water when electricity prices are really expensive. Or an electric vehicle could be a DER because you could say, don't charge your vehicle when the grid is really dirty. So all of these resources comprise DERs. And another fun term that you're going to learn tonight, and some of you are already familiar with, is virtual power plants. Virtual power plants are what happen, or what are created when you start to manipulate all of these DERs in concert with one another in order to achieve various goals. We'll explain that a little bit too, but that's a little bit of an arcane term, but you all will learn it. So as I mentioned, DERs can be located at the customer meter. They can be located at residential or non-residential sites. And the intention is to integrate as many DERs as we can under PCE's virtual power plant. So as I started to allude to, a virtual power plant, or VPP, is a collection of these resources that can be brought together and utilized in a way that meets customer needs, meets grid needs, or meets PCE's needs. So here are, the basics. Here are the basic technologies that can be a part of a VPP and are DERs. You have battery storage, either with or without solar. You have electric vehicles and their chargers, heat pump water heaters, and other home appliances that might plug into a smart plug. HVAC equipment controlled by a smart thermostat in particular, and then a broader software platform that is called a building energy management system. The PCE has a building energy management system. It's just whatever you use to control a whole building's load. But these are usually at commercial facilities. So I just want to explain some of the definitions. We're going to talk through the what of what we're doing eventually. Another key tenet of DERs is that there are also front of meter DERs. What we just talked through were the behind the meter DERs. Front of meter DERs mean it's kind of like, if you think about what our power resources team develops, they develop really big power plants, big solar and wind and hydro power plants, for instance. Those connect typically to the transmission grid. But distribution resources that connect to the distribution grid are often smaller in size, such as 1 to 10 megawatts, but they still act as a wholesale energy resource. They're still plugging directly into the grid. So some examples of these are community solar and battery storage, or community scale multi-meter or multi-customer microgrids. So this is also a key part of what we plan to develop through 2030. So here's a visual that helps explain that those distribution connected resources. And we call these the missing middle, because there's not really a market for them yet. It's either a small DER located right at a customer's site, or a really big power plant connected all the way to the transmission grid, which you can see on the left-hand side under A. Front of meter DERs, B, are connected to the left side of the blue there, either directly into the distribution grid or paired with a distribution transformer. Whereas behind the meter DERs are located directly at customer sites, which is C. So this is a depiction of just everything that goes into the grid that makes the grid work. And B is kind of the missing middle here that is not really addressed in the state right now. Or it is, but kind of just, it's still in a more nascent spot. So, okay, we're gonna talk through the benefits and barriers of DERs, and then get to our goals eventually. Come on, clicker. There we go. So we're not gonna go line by line here, but you can see in the chart that we have a lot of DERs already deployed in PCE service territory. We've got a lot of solar, a lot of battery systems, a lot of electric vehicles. Our building electrification team is working on driving the building electrification measures, heat pump water heaters, heat pump HVACs. And all of these amount to DERs that PCE can manipulate if they are brought into our virtual power plant. These resources have what's called a nameplate capacity, which is like a potential capacity to use the resource. So for instance, there's a lot of megawatts of electric vehicles in our service territory. There's thousands and thousands of EVs. But the actual estimated load shift capacity on the right-hand side of the columns is lower than that because you can't just utilize all of those EVs all at once. People have their charging preferences. So suffice it to say that there is a nameplate capacity of resources, but then there's also an estimation of how much load we could actually shift if we brought those under our virtual power plant. And in our county and the city of Los Banos, we think that there's about 33 megawatts of load shift potential currently deployed. And that will grow over time as more resources are deployed.
When I was looking at this the other day, and I had a question now, why is there an NA under estimated load shift capacity for both San Mateo County and Merced County, but there's not an NA for all the rest? What's different about solar PV that you can't shift? Is that what that means? You cannot shift?
Yeah, our perspective is that solar is just producing when it's producing. And you can't tell a solar array to dispatch or to produce energy when the sun isn't shining. So it's static, whereas the other resources here are dynamic in terms of when they're actually used and therefore when customer load is used.
Well, that's what my confusion is. On my block, 6 of us have solar. If you add all that up in August, June 20th, we're generating far more than we need.
Mhm.
Doesn't that go back into the load shift capacity bucket?
It's not load shift capacity in the sense of, yes, it's great that those resources are exporting to the grid and providing a service to the community at that time. But we can't do anything to say, well, we know that energy prices are gonna skyrocket at 11 PM. And so let's get those solar resources to dispatch at 11 PM. Whereas you could send a signal to these other devices that says it's either really dirty right now or it's really expensive, and so change something, shift something. Does that make sense?
So you have a device on all of the other 4 categories that allows you to do that. You don't have that on solar.
Yeah, that's right, because it's static versus manipulable or manageable.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That explains.
Yes,
Here, I have a question.
yes.
So Merced County, that's the city of Los Banos?
Yes, sorry, the city of Los Banos is in Merced County, so this is all resources in that whole county, not just the city.
Okay, because I was gonna say the number of devices like solar PV, that'd be huge for one city.
Yeah, well, actually, it really is for Los Banos, they have a ton of solar, but it's not that high.
Okay.
Yeah,
What are the 15,000 devices in Los Banos then? Are those individual panels? Is that what those numbers mean?
under the 15,000 figure is number of solar systems in the county of Merced.
So that includes the farm?
Yes, that's just one device, so to speak. Yes.
That's a lot of devices in one place.
In the county, that's in the whole county of Merced.
Whole
So
county of
if you compare it to the county of San Mateo, for instance, it's 24,000. So still a lot, but in both counties, it is quite a lot.
What does nameplate capacity mean?
Nameplate capacity is the concept I was trying to describe earlier, where you have a potential of like a technical potential, like a theoretical maximum of energy capacity from a series of devices.
Like for instance, your 100 amp service in your house.
Correct,
the
that's the
maximum,
most.
that's the potential.
Okay.
Or you can get a 400 amp service. If you have a swimming pool and
Yeah.
tennis court lights and stuff like that.
That's right, even though you might only use 40 amps or 60 amps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
It's like the maximum what that device can do.
exactly, yeah. So so those are behind the meter DERs and what we have in our service territory. As far as front of meter DERs go. In the county of San Mateo, we only have 2 megawatts of solar connected into the distribution grid. Meaning we don't have a lot of solar farms or utility scale solar within this 1 to 10 megawatt range. And for solar and storage, we have 1.5 megawatts of solar and battery storage combined. In the city of Los Banos, they have 7 megawatts of distributed solar connected just in that city. It's connected to the distribution grid. And one thing that's worth pointing out here is that a lot of projects try to get installed to the grid, try to get developed. You'll see the withdrawn capacity in the county of San Mateo and the county of Merced total over 170 megawatts of capacity. So, but all that only resulted in 10 megawatts getting built, which tells us that it's really hard to get these projects built. Some things, they fall off at various points. These are challenging projects to get built, but we think that they have a lot of value as well. And I want to go into some of that value and talk about some of the benefits.
Can you give an example of,
Yeah.
of what's an example of withdrawn capacity?
It means, yeah, sorry, that's probably not, I probably didn't explain that as well as I could have. Let's say a 50 megawatt solar project is being developed in the county of San Mateo, and they send an application to PG&E for it to get built. PG&E might say, well, in order to do that, we have to upgrade this transformer, we have to upgrade this distribution line, and you have to pay us $10 million. And so that might be one of the reasons, yeah. Or they might not be able to successfully negotiate a land lease for that project because the cost of land is high in the county. So those are some examples of why a project would get withdrawn.
So in short, there's a lot of hurdles.
A lot of
to-
hurdles.
In front of the meter project.
That's right, yes.
What can PCE or this group do to remove those hurdles?
Well, let's keep going because there's some things in here about benefits first and barriers.
I'll save my question.
So
Excuse me,
Yes.
I got lost about on that previous chart, you said there was 10. But I don't see the number 10 there.
10 is just combining the online capacities from both of the columns in the counties for the 3.6.
Oh.
Yeah, 3.6 and 7.7. Does that clarify things? And
Oh,
the,
sorry, 11, but
yeah, 11, yeah.
that's why he's confused.
But
That's why he's
math.
confused.
Yeah. Does that clarify things for me?
So withdrawn capacity is what is pulling from the grid?
No, it means that a project tried to get developed and was unsuccessful.
Failed projects.
Yeah.
What?
So it's much larger than the actual number of projects that do get built in the end.
Significant.
Yeah,
So
quite.
they spend all the money planning these projects
Yeah,
and they don't get built?
not building them, they don't construct them usually.
That's not building, them, right? Last time I checked.
Right.
It's not on.
It's not built, yeah. This is common in the state in general, but not really at this magnitude in terms of the ratio of.
Sounds like a high-speed rail project.
Yeah, right, yeah. So I wanna keep moving along here. Yeah, we can keep doing questions, but there's a lot of slides to get through, so I just wanna be sensitive to that and everybody's time. So here are the way we see the benefits of DERs. And some of these are relevant to behind the meter DERs, some of them are more relevant for front of meter DERs. So when a customer gets a behind the meter DER, typically speaking, it helps lower their energy costs. When you add solar and battery storage, helps lower your energy costs. When you add solar and batteries in particular, it also improves the financials of electrification. let's say you're getting solar, batteries, and a heat pump water heater. Combined, you're gonna end up saving money on your electricity bill typically, when you do that. And it's an attractive financial proposition. A lot of these technologies can provide backup power or energy resilience, as well. On PCE side, deploying different, DERs, solar and battery storage helps support our goal of deploying renewable energy and deploying building electrification and transportation electrification or EVs helps us with our GHG goals. These technologies can also be utilized to help manage our power resources costs, such as our energy costs and our resource adequacy costs, which are very high. And they also allow us to deepen our customer relationships. It's giving customers something that they typically want. It's giving them something that provides an incremental service, a new service to them. And it's something that, we get to step into that relationship. And then last, as far as the grid and societal benefits, one of the largest theoretical benefits of especially front of meter DERs is that they can be used to help offset investment into upgrading the grid. The grid is expensive to upkeep, and sometimes when you locate solar and battery storage in particular at certain parts of the grid, it helps to reduce costs for all society. And of course, by doing this in our service territory, we get to foster some local economic development and create some jobs.
What I'm not following, how is building a front of grid, let's say solar project, help the grid? It seems like it would load the grid and require more grid resources. So
Yeah, it's a little technical to describe, so I don't want to get too into the weeds there. It is a known benefit that solar and battery storage, when deployed as in front of the meter, in some cases can help offset the need to upgrade a transformer or a substation. Kathleen?
Well, typically, when you're talking about distributed energy resources, you're talking about constructing something that's located near where there's already existing transmission, right? So you're less likely to be, if you're building some gigantic solar facility out in the desert, you might have to, do a whole new transmission line to get out there. But if you're doing distributed energy development, typically you're doing it closer to where there's already the existing infrastructure. So you're not creating that new demand. Is that?
That was a much better way of describing it, 100%.
That was very good.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I want to keep going here because I really want to get to the goals section because that's the meat of the whole presentation. There are a lot of things that can stymie the deployment of DERs. And these are complex. This is a boiled down version of the barriers. In general, for behind the meter DERs in particular, you're asking customers to do a new thing. The adoption is complicated. And connecting what is deployed to a virtual power plant doubles the level of adoption or doubles the complexity. You're asking customers not only to deploy something, but to connect it to a piece of software, which is complicated. There are upfront cost considerations and capital requirements for the deployment of these new resources. And PCE is in a position to help with that, but it's a big ask to finance something that's $40,000 or $10,000. There are value stack issues. So this is complicated. I don't suggest we spend too much time on it, but in general, the economics of DERs could be improved if the services that they were capable of providing had a source of compensation, but that is not always the case. That's about as far as I suggest we bring that one. Then the whole market of DERs, not the whole market, but much of the market of distributed energy resources and virtual power plants is still quite nascent, and it's in its early days. So it is still a complex environment. It is not a lot of things in this realm are streamlined yet. Some things are, but not everything. And then lastly, there are permitting and interconnection complications. The deployment timelines for a new resource can vary from a year to 4 years. Permitting can be challenging. So these are some of the barriers, this is not all negative. This is just some of the challenges and hurdles that we as an org and developers of DERs need to surmount. So let's get into our goals. This is the fun stuff. I'm not going to go through every one of our goals in detail. You can read some of them here. I hope some of you had a chance to review in advance as well. This is not the last conversation about these goals. We are going to get into some detail in I believe the first four in the next 4 slides, and that's the end of the PowerPoint. But I encourage you all to read this, sit with it. We want to get your feedback on these. We put a lot of thought into the metrics here, and I want to explain how we got there in part. And again, we're not going to go through every one of the goals. So what I suggest is let's just take 30 seconds of silence. Please just read some of these, and then we're going to get into the details. Okay, so we're gonna dive into the details of some of the top level goals, which are some of the more substantive goals. These are all goals mainly from 2026 to 2025, but they're being developed now, so we're kind of including 2025 as well. But that's 5 years, so we've got a lot of time to really overhaul things and make some substantial progress in this arena. Sorry?
What are those dates?
This is from 2025 to 2030.
2030.
Yeah. So one of our first goals is to grow our behind the meter local power portfolio by 15 megawatts of solar and 35 megawatt hours of battery storage capacity, especially with an eye on scalability in this approach. And one of our principal objectives here is to establish a self-sustaining financial solution. So the local power goal is it's influenced by what are the levers we can pull. One of the biggest levers we are pulling presently is financing. We have our GovPV program, which has 36 sites in the pipeline. That is a 5 megawatt program. And it is a program where PCE is directly financing the installation of solar, and later in 2026, it will include battery storage as well.
Can you tell us where that is?
All over the service area. We have 18 different cities and the county, including Los Banos, in the portfolio. So you got community centers, libraries, city halls, all over.
Okay.
On the North Bay, South Bay, Coast, Half Moon Bay, Pacifica, Los Banos. Yeah.
Those are all city-owned properties?
They are
county-owned
city-owned properties, correct.
And did you guys finance them?
Then we finance them and own the equipment, correct? Yeah.
Okay, all right.
What about the one in the photograph? Did you finance that? That's the Bellhaven.
We did, that's I believe the San Bruno.
Shout out San Bruno Aquatic Center.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yes, that's a facility that's now built. We financed it, we developed it, we hired a construction provider. So this, financing is a major lever we can provide. So is technical support, and that is something that we do on an ongoing basis. We also run aggregated procurements. We go to construction vendors and say, it's not just one small project, it's 36 big projects or 36 medium projects you could build all together. And by doing that, we get economies of scale on the build cost. It brings the project cost down for everybody. It results in greater economics on the projects for each of the program participants.
So a lot of these like new community centers, like I know the one they built the City Hall in Pacifica, they made it solar ready because that's required by just the regular building code. And they didn't have money to put solar, but it's my understanding, I think you guys are helping them put the solar on. So that would be an example.
Yeah, of the 36 projects, I believe only about 4 of them are new facilities. The rest are existing facilities where we went back out and added solar after the fact. Let me keep explaining some of the tenets of this goal. So the GovPV is just one aspect of this local power goal. We also are currently standing up a residential solar and battery savings program. And this goal posits the expansion of both of those programs. So there will be multiple iterations of both our GovPV program and our residential solar battery savings program. Battery storage is larger than solar because it's a really a key focal area for PCE. Behind the meter solar does a great service in providing on-site generation, especially to feed battery storage, which provides multiple services. It helps shift energy so that customers are using less energy, drawing less energy from the grid during expensive evening hours and instead drawing on their batteries. But it also provides backup power. And a lot of our customers want batteries for the specific reason of getting backup power. So the battery storage capacity is large for that reason. All in all, the 15 megawatt mark and 35 megawatt mark are what we established as the reasonable projections for how we would expand and enroll these programs.
Peter, question?
Yeah.
So that 15 megawatt is the aggregate of all of those projects, right?
Correct.
Isn't that less than our original target for 2025?
Well, our original target included it was kind of it wasn't descriptive about
Where?
it wasn't descriptive about what technologies,
right.
it was kind of just
Right.
like local power.
Right.
It was also over a 9-year time horizon. This includes 15 megawatts of solar and 35 megawatt hours in total. That's much larger than the original 20 megawatt goal,
Right.
and it's over a much shorter time horizon. So that's the whole purpose of this. We didn't really have a sense of how to deploy DERs in a scalable way, in a self-sustaining way. The whole intention here is that by keeping an eye on how to do that through 2030, we might establish the blueprint to really scale things up. But that takes a lot of time and a lot of iterating, and we're getting started, but we're leveraging lessons learned today. For the first time, really. So we hope to continue to do that through 2030.
Wouldn't 1 or 2 large in front of the meter projects bring in a lot more megawattage?
We definitely have, that's absolutely correct, but they would not provide any customer benefits. And there are other complications there. But deploying front of meter DERs is one of our goals. Or rather the exploration of it. Want to go to the next goal. Is that okay with folks? Any other? Okay. So right now, the way we run programs is somewhat siloed. We have some programs where a customer may receive an offering from PCE where they're getting different things. But in general, it's not as integrated as we want it to be. And this is a big goal for PCE through 2030, is to provide a whole home energy approach, integrating the 3 legs of the stool, the electrification measures, solar and storage, and EVs. Right now, different programs are fairly siloed. In the future, our plan is to move towards having a suite of resources offered to customers at the same point or at the same time. So that it's less fragmented. This is true for both resi customers and non-residential customers. We're starting this already. There are some programs where customers can get, for instance, for our GovPV program, we are deploying solar, battery storage, and electric vehicle chargers under the same contract and the same developer. But right now, that's kind of like the exception, and it's not fully integrated yet. So the whole point of this is to promote more customer centricity. Customers want to get an understanding of what are all the things on the table, not just the one that you're bringing to me right now. They want to know all their options with respect to the ways that they can adopt DERs.
So then you would promote that by providing incentives for someone to do it all at the same time or to come up to speed in each area?
Incentives might be one way that we do that, but for instance, we could also provide them a technical assistant. We could, leverage technical assistance and say, you want to, reduce the GHG intensity of your commercial building? Well, you could do X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C. Instead of right now, we're pretty much just saying, well, you can only do X and Y through us. So that's.
And that might apply to a homeowner as well, though.
Absolutely,
actually.
yes, yes.
So Robert, who has a completely electric home, could be one of these whole homes.
That is my water heater.
That's hilarious. Go Robert.
I knew that.
That begs the question, I know my water heater is not hooked up to this system that you're talking about. You're gonna speak to that later about making it all part of your DER system?
That's the next goal. Want to go there right now?
Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead. I was under the impression that for like Tech Clean California, which requires enrollment in demand response utility, okay, I'll let you just.
You know your stuff.
Okay.
You can complete the thought if you want.
Well, basically, it sounds like that's completely in line with what you're about to say, and so it's already in progress. It's just a matter of rolling it out to anyone else who didn't receive a $3,100 financial incentive to install a heat pump water heater.
Yes, it's like a big yes and, yeah. We're gonna go to the next goal here on virtual power plants. So again, a virtual power plant it's a platform that can manage multiple DERs in unison. It's a platform that also optimizes the way that they're used. And that platform is called a DERMS is what it's called. It's a distributed energy resource or DER management system. It's a software platform. So a DERMS controls devices at a customer site. And that forms a virtual power plant when you do that. So you can kind of see here this network, this web of devices are all connected to a DERMS, and they collectively can form a VPP. They can also individually form a VPP. It's kind of a not a great definition, frankly. It's a weird industry term, pretty arcane, and I'm sorry that it's complicated, but our goal here is to develop a VPP that can aggregate 10 megawatts of these resources and what we previously defined earlier as dispatchable capacity, which is different than nameplate capacity, from customer cited resources in our area so that we can give customers benefits, get benefits ourselves, and provide benefits to the grid. So again, we want to aggregate 10 megawatts of DERs under a DERMS in order to, as part of our virtual power plant. That is the goal for 2030. Please.
So Tesla has a VPP.
Mhm.
How would you coordinate with them?
Yes, so PCE is not the only provider of VPPs. There are PG&E is running VPP programs. We presently have piloted multiple VPPs already. They've all been I would describe them as like single technology VPPs, like 500 batteries and telling them to shift their behavior a little bit differently. Or 100 electric vehicles and trying to get them to change the way that they manage their charging. The goal here is to bring all of these DERs though under the umbrella of a DERMS of this software platform. And also we won't be the only ones that are doing something like that. Private companies will offer the same. An adjacent term here is demand response, which some of you might be more familiar with. Demand response. Mhm. So demand response is a sibling to the virtual power plants, so to speak. You manipulate customer DER behavior for the sake of providing a service. That's the same with a virtual power plant and demand response. Please.
Is there a geographical distribution that you're trying to get to? It'd be better to have them all close together, or does it matter?
We haven't exactly started to like theorize in that vein. There certainly is a benefit to taking some consideration for the geography.
I'm just thinking of my neighborhood, and I know where all the fire meters are.
Right.
Started to talk to them.
Yeah. From a technical perspective, I don't think that there will be, even in this time horizon, a major focus on prioritizing different geographies.
Okay.
For the sake of virtual power plants. It's different than for the sake of deploying the actual technology. It's probably a key distinction here actually, is that we're not talking about deploying technology in this goal. We're just talking about being able to shift the usage of that technology. It's different than the actual installation of a thing.
What do you mean by that? So you're not deploying it, what are you doing?
We're making sure that we can affect its behavior. We can make it so that a customer is not charging on peak with their EV, or that a battery dispatches to the grid at when prices are super high, or that heat pump water heaters are not firing up when the grid is very dirty. Those are some use cases of what you would use a VPP for. It's not the installation of that electric vehicle or the charger rather.
It's learning how to do this.
It's the load shifting. It's the actual customer behavior change, or really it's not behavior change. It's like a direct automated shift in how a DER is utilized.
So if you do that in my home, do I benefit with less usage and being more efficient and then a lower bill?
100%. This is all going to be taken with a very high degree of customer centricity. We aren't going to tell customers to, charge their electric vehicle from 4 to 9 p.m. because prices are low at that time. And a lot of the ways that you want to load shift or change customers' DER usage complements the ways that PCE gets benefits and the way that the grid gets benefits. So a lot of times the goals are pretty unified anyway.
So how does the customer get constant? Like right now, I'm signed up with Ohm Connect. And they ask you to reduce your usage for a certain period of time, and you earn points, but you have to like cash them in through PayPal or something, which I haven't done yet because I don't have a PayPal account. And it's kind of a nuisance, frankly, to do it that way. It would be great to have something more direct. Would this be like built into the billing somehow so that the customer, directly sees a reduction in their bill because they've cut their usage or contributed something? How does this?
I would say that it's a little bit more on the implementation side rather than how we've envisioned just the goal here. The form of compensation. Let's see. I think Kathleen, I would recommend we pick that question up closer to like when we're finalizing
The
the
detailed
actual plan.
Okay.
Here, because it's a really good question. I have a lot of thoughts on it, but it kind of gets weedy.
Okay.
I hope that's okay.
Yep.
I want to keep going here because there is, I think, at least one more goal. Two more, thank you. Okay. So we have Yana on the line here, and Yana, I'm gonna keep walking through the goals unless you would like to jump in or
No, feel free. I can. Ooh, I have bad reception, I think, so feel free for you to talk through it.
great, okay, thank you. So the reason why I mentioned Yana is because there are some goals here that are really positing the start of something new that PCE hasn't done before. And that's what Yana was hired to do, is help us innovate. And one key area of innovation is on this concept of the missing middle. So what we're going to do through 2030 is to explore kind of a new business model centered around developing these front of meter distribution resources. Again, these are typically around 1 to 10 megawatts in scale. The idea is that we would develop them with a preference of being in PCE's service area. And some examples, like we mentioned previously, are community solar and storage, or a multi-customer microgrid. PCE has already developed one community solar project, and it just came online a couple weeks ago, which is great. But that's not in our service territory. And in the future, we really are looking towards adding battery storage as a key component of these projects. So some ways that we're hoping to achieve this goal is by leveraging a new program that is being developed and that Yana has been a key player in developing, called the Community Renewable Energy Program, that leverages federal IRA funds through the EPA Solar for All grant. Another way.
Isn't that
Are
gone?
those still available?
Yeah, to my knowledge, they are still available.
Yep, still available because the money supposedly is already in California. So California has already won the funding. And so it is really hard for the federal government to claw that back. And we have not heard that that's happening so far. Fingers crossed.
Another program that could support the development of these types of resources is PG&E's microgrid incentive program, which incentivizes the deployment of multi-customer solar and storage microgrids, which is directly in line with this goal, of course. And then lastly, I kind of highlighted there's a lot of barriers to the deployment of DERs. We also talked about how there were so many projects that have had their interconnection application withdrawn, pointing to those same barriers. And what we really need here is a lot of policy advocacy to help make these projects viable. The whole vision here is in line with what Kathleen was mentioning, is that we have a lot of energy usage in our service territory, but we import power from the Central Valley, from New Mexico, from Washington. And the idea is that we think there could be potentially a lot of value unlocked if we were able to deploy solar and battery storage directly in our service area.
But it's not as if people that had these virtual power plants would be sending it back to PCE or the grid or anything. It'd just be this process would benefit from me just using my power more wisely.
This is fundamentally different than the virtual power plant goal and scenario. In these projects, these are front of meter projects plugged directly into the distribution grid.
Okay.
So they don't interact with customers in that same way as behind the meter DERs. And there's no consideration of those types of things. So I hope that helps.
Well, so let's say it was at the facility that you showed us with all the solar on top and he swims there.
Yeah.
So that would be a possibility then for this program.
Not for this goal in particular.
Oh, okay.
This is, if you go back, if you think back to the diagram where there were customer sites, there's lines and wires,
Mhm.
and then there's big power plants.
Mhm.
This is that missing middle where some power plants, like our power resources team works on, they plug directly into the grid as opposed to a customer site. And this is those these are these distribution resources or missing middle projects are plugging directly into the grid, not into a customer location.
So I'm just trying to visualize this because you had a nice picture of the behind the meter one there.
Yeah, let's just go back to that. 'Cause it
So
might be
this
helpful.
thing would be, let's say, I remember there's a big kind of distribution, PG&E distribution thing down in Coyote Valley. You see when you drive past 101, right? So I'd say you guys would make like a medium-sized solar plant right next to that thing. It would plug into that.
Exactly.
Versus building something way out in, let's say, Lancaster, where you then have to build power lines, you have to beg and plead PG&E to build power lines to connect it somewhere, to PG&E grid.
Correct.
Is that what we're trying to do here?
Correct. Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, so that Lancaster project would be an A here. It would be connected to the orange, the transmission
You'd
lines
have to
or the
build it,
transformers.
because there's no grid out there. There's not even anything.
Oh,
like
fair
that.
enough. Yeah, maybe there
Out
isn't
there.
any transmission out there.
But you're building next to the existing one, right? And
Exactly.
closer to the customers.
Yeah, so are our power resources folks. They're also building things, but their power plants are much larger than B here, the letter B here, which is a resource that's connecting directly to the blue portion, the distribution grid. So they are smaller projects, as you alluded to, and they don't go up to the transmission level, which is a key benefit. They can be contained within the distribution service, the distribution grid, theoretically. This is like it's still very nascent, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of
So you plug
concepts.
into that substation, basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
One that's near the blue.
Either the substation or directly onto the distribution grid, the lines and wires.
Not the big power. distribution.
So is this the first time then that PCE will be generating power its own?
No, not necessarily. We help develop projects by signing power purchase agreements and other energy contracts with power plant developers. We would be doing the same thing,
I see.
but it would be at a smaller scale.
Yeah,
It would be more local,
okay.
and it wouldn't be connecting to the orange here. It would be connecting to the blue, which is a key difference.
Mhm.
Let me take one step further. Could a neighborhood develop their own microgrid by adding more panels to the roofs and maybe some in the yard? I mean, I hear microgrids a lot, but where are you gonna put them?
Mhm.
There's no raw land in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
Could you expand the roof side? I mean, is that crazy thinking?
no, it's not crazy thinking. It is in line with, one of the ways that we're hoping to achieve this goal is by, microgrid programs. PG&E has a pilot scale program for this. There potentially could be other programs, funding. I think that also there is a possibility of this being a standalone kind of project, as in it doesn't need external funding, but that is years away.
Are they coupling that with their pilot program to get rid of gas in neighborhoods?
I don't think it's connected. I think it's yeah.
No, those two are separate initially.
Thank you for now.
You have one more slide.
Great, yeah, let's do it, thank you. Okay, so as I mentioned, as you all read, we have multiple goals that we haven't gotten into the details of here. I don't recommend we drill all the way into those, but in the same way that we are owning projects in our GovPV program, we want to consider what is the best way for DERs to be owned in the long run? And what are the ownership models that we can develop? So that's one of the goals as well. We want to make these programs more accessible to customers. And especially applying an equity lens on some of the projects that we're working through. And technical assistance is certainly a major lever that we plan to utilize in that arena. Helping customers know what their options are, regardless of what kind of homeownership or not that they have. And what access to financing they have, and what their preferences are from a technology perspective. And then lastly, there are policy advocacy was cited under one of the previous goals, but it is also its own standalone goal to help maximize the value of DERs. We need to do a lot of policy advocacy. You can see some of the policy categories here, but there are numerous. So, I know that it's a lot. We just talked through quite a lot. Yana and I are here to talk to you. We really do want feedback. We're also happy to answer questions. I know this stuff can be complicated, and this is my day job, but yeah, I get it. If you have any questions, we really want to understand. your perspectives.
Stephen, Michael, and then myself.
Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, please.
Hey, no, so seriously though, Peter, thank you so much for that. It was very informative, a lot of information. And you go over things that I'm familiar with, that I'm not sure the rest of the group is. I don't know if anybody is really familiar with what a megawatt is. When they're talking like 15 megawatts or 30 megawatts, if you guys are familiar with that. That's a lot of electricity. And I was just wondering, what's the plan going forward on the curtailment or the loss of solar electricity that California dumps daily, which is like 5% for the state, There's a lot of solar energy that's being produced that's not being used. And you might not be able to answer that question. I was just wondering, or maybe you can.
Yeah, I can definitely take a stab at it.
Policies and advocacy and.
Yeah, there's a multifaceted response to address that in full. With respect to the goals that we're setting, that's a big reason why battery storage is a part of pretty much every solar program that we have contemplated. So for residential customers, for non-residential customers, I think that we're probably going to see about like 90%, maybe 80% on the low side of new solar projects being paired with battery moving forward. So some of the solar projects we're building right now will be some of the last ones to be built on a standalone basis without battery storage. And there's a big policy change with net metering where you no longer get full compensation from solar exports to the grid for the very reason that you identified, that when you do that, it's not providing a ton of value to the grid during the day because there's so much solar in California now. So there's gonna be a lot more solar storage. It's kind of the new, it's kind of the new thing. It's the graduated version of solar, behind the meter solar. And there's a lot more we can talk about if you want to, so.
Stephen, where does that excess power go?
Michael's next one.
Peter, thank you for the very informative and interesting and ambitious program. And I have two comments. One is, it seems almost overly ambitious to accomplish all these goals. How big a staff are you gonna have working on this?
Well, presently, there's me and then there's two folks that report to me, Ross Fisher and Dave Freibush. Both extremely knowledgeable individuals. Yana was brought on board to help provide a lot of people power, and she is killing it in that department. She also is planning to hire somebody to help us with one of the local power goals, or multiple rather. So that's a team of 5 plus occasional support from Raphael and Carlos on some of the project development. And beyond that, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
We.
Can I add to that? I think that this DER plan is actually really broad. You know, it has a lot of policy angles too. So there's a lot of support from the policy team. You know, there's going to be marketing involved and account services. There's going to be a lot of people working on this DER plan. You know, this is also, you know, but with our expanded definition of DERs, this expands you know, into the world of heat pump water heaters and electric vehicles. So almost everyone in the programs team will touch this work in the next 5 years. So I think this is a really broad staff approach. And there will probably be eventually some hiring too if we're successful. So, but just to kind of keep it brief now, the next steps in this plan are that we are continuing to develop this through this year and have a more detailed, right now this is a framework. This is our initial proposal. We're developing a more detailed plan that will also have more details on kind of what are the specific programs we want to run and what are the kind of needs in terms of staffing. And then we're going to do annual staffing plans, as we always do. We're going to define annual objectives and key results, and staffing will be part of that. So every year we're looking into how are we doing in terms of our goals and what objectives and key results do we need to achieve this particular year to achieve those larger 5-year goals. So there will be more kind of information of how that will all play out kind of by the end of the year.
oh, great. Well, that leads into my second question. At some point, you may have to prioritize. And I would personally like to prioritize getting some on-the-ground projects underway. I can understand there's all this background work that needs to be done. But I'd love to see some big front of the meter project going at some point over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
100%.
okay.
Does the battery storage facility in Daly City count?
The Cormorant project, I would say no. I would say that doesn't count because it's so large that it does need to step up to the transmission level. It's not a distribution connected resource. By some stretch of the imagination, you could say it is a DER, but that's not the way we're defining it. Yeah.
Randy, go ahead. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting what Steven's saying, that the excess power just disappears right now. I mean, or does it get just grounded?
I don't think that it ever gets grounded.
Well, can I talk to that real quick? Actually, I think
Yeah.
what Stephen was talking about was more on the front of the meter side. So large centralized solar resources, because of transmission grid constraints, they basically do get shut down at times because the transmission grid simply cannot export the electricity, even though the large centralized solar system is producing, the electricity cannot be exported. I know of a few projects that struggle under that, and the only thing we can do at this point is policy advocacy. That is our main avenue to address this, and there's many kind of grid initiatives that our policy team is engaging in. Stephen, if you have more questions on that, we can definitely connect you with our policy team to learn more what exactly they're doing.
Wouldn't you just add batteries so that you can store that energy until?
Exactly. That's one solution is to add a battery, but that's not easy. Another solution is to upgrade the grid. That's not easy. So yeah, none of the solutions are easy, and they're usually, again, for large centralized systems where it gets tricky.
And you're with the Durham's, or the one where the house sounds kind of interesting, because if you can manage it that way, you can help the homeowners who are, the electrician or the electrical engineer comes and says, oh, you need to upgrade your service to 400 amps to electrify, which, I know it's not the case. If you manage all your appliances and don't use them all at once, you can do it within 100 amps, maybe an extension panel if you're out of breakers. So that's really important. That saves the homeowner or the building owner, thousands and thousands of dollars, and years. Sometimes it could take a year to get PG&E to hook you up.
Yes.
Yeah. It takes so long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely envisioned that by having multiple DERs deployed, in concert at the same time, we can save customers more money by doing that.
Robert?
Thank you for the great presentation. I learned a lot tonight. I really want to see on the ground germs because I've got a battery in my garage. You saw my water here that has extra capacity. You know, I'm approached once in a while by somebody who wants to buy my battery power. But the company that approached me is also the manufacturer, so you know who it is. I'm not gonna go with them. The sooner PCE can get this moving, the better for us. I would be first in line, and it could be to sign up.
That's great.
So whatever we can do to support you for Durham,
Yeah.
I'll fight it out with Michael.
I actually think we're coming back to you next month to talk about our Durham's contract, if I remember correctly, confirming with Kirsten, but.
Okay, I won't sell to Elon then. Okay, great.
Let me go really quick and then Kathleen, the three real quick points. One is, we've been talking about this, Michael's been pushing this for at least 8 years. And I think that I'm so excited to see all of this. I would request that we update the slides we got in advance. You've updated a little bit. It said 30 instead of 35. So if we could recirculate with the new numbers.
Yeah, it's posted online.
It's already posted. Okay, great. So everybody look at that. But then the third thing I was gonna say was, we have the opportunity to take an action item. If we don't have to, and if they're coming back, we can do it later. I'm personally excited about all of the goals. And since this is not an implementation thing, but a goal setting thing, I would like to entertain adopting, and we can discuss it, but I know we gotta move on here quickly, but I want Kathleen, whoever else to speak. But I would entertain that we move to support these goals as outlined here and revisit in the future. Because I think this is the one thing we've been not missing, but the thing we've been pushing for, and it's the hardest to achieve, which is get local, actual stuff, like Michael was talking about, Robert was talking about. And I think that we should do everything we can to support this, knowing that this is probably the hardest, heaviest lift you guys have, right? In general. Because it's not buying electricity, it's not programs, it's solving the middle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
thank you. Kathleen, go ahead, please.
Yeah, the fantastic presentation, and I understand the focus on solar, but I'm wondering, are you really limiting just to solar? Has there been any consideration of small scale wind resources? And I'm thinking of the Pittsburgh Unified School District is, has small wind turbines in their parking lots. I saw something similar in a remote town in the Amazon area, that they were powering buildings with small scale solar small scale wind that almost looked like sculptures, but it was actually powering the buildings. Is that something that's being considered?
We opted to keep out other local generation technologies, predominantly because they are not really deployed in our service area. If you look at, for instance, the amount of behind the meter solar that is deployed, we're looking at installing or promoting the deployment of 15 megawatts of solar, for instance. The county has over 200 megawatts of solar already installed at customer locations. I think that is a preferable paradigm for PC to look at, as compared to, if we were to install behind the meter geothermal, for instance. There maybe are some geothermal projects in our service area, but we'd be taking on a lot of technology risk in doing that. And we wanted to avoid taking on those kinds of technology risks. It's definitely something I'm curious about, but I think that what we want to see first is actual commercial success of those technologies scaling, so that we could help further their scaling.
I guess I'd like to know, not right now, we don't have time to get into it, but I'd be interested to know what the additional technology risks are. And I'm just thinking that wind could be very complementary to the solar, because that generally we get the most of it during what's our peak demand period. So I just hate to see that completely eliminated, but there may be some barriers I'm not understanding.
I think that the risk, if I could just boil it down, is that a project won't come to fruition because a supplier has inaccurate costs, or they, we can't source the equipment. Suffice it to say that PC is in a position where in every aspect of our organization, we want to observe what the commercial sector is doing and complement it, rather than leading in a new technology category. That is something that is a hard ask for a variety of reasons.
So Jason, we have some public comments, so this one.
Okay, well, I think Gail, if you have some, oh, other, I'm sorry, Remy, go ahead.
Yeah, quickly, and you mentioned about projects not going through, and I remember that first slide. So, you know, if you have 2 something megawatts and then there's 204 that didn't go through. I'm not sure what your strategy is to kind of turn that around, so you're actually building this stuff and just not talking, engineering it, this stuff, wasting a lot of public money, not doing it.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's important it's important to keep in mind that there are a multitude of reasons that each need to be considered with respect to why a project might not move forward. And we evaluate those risks for every one of our front of meter projects. The power resources team, for instance, make sure that a land lease is signed when they enter into a contract. They make sure that PG&E has given it like a tentative, thumbs up in terms of its ability to interconnect. So there's a variety of things you need to do when you develop a front of meter project, regardless of the scale. And we would employ those same business practices when looking at front of meter distribution resources.
Well, why, you guys seem to know a lot about, but why is the failure rate so high?
Same thing. There's a lot of reasons why the failure rate is so high. I think it would take a while to explain. We could definitely talk about that. I would suggest maybe doing it offline potentially, since we're pretty late.
Looking at with a failure rate that high, you know, the best conservation of resources is not to do it and redirect the resources into something that succeeds, like,
Yes.
Encouraging more behind the meter solar, for instance.
Well,
Battery backup.
Yeah, our vision is to utilize the policy levers that we have at play to clear some of the gunkier barriers that would enable some of these projects to have a much higher success rate. And really to unlock a new value streams to them that are not afforded to them, so that they can compete with other similar types of projects that do end up getting built.
For example,
sorry.
For example,
For
a concrete example.
I suggest not going into this too much more. But I would be open to having a conversation offline. It's just a little complicated.
Can we open up a comment? Would you please go back to the DER goal summary page? The first goal one was that goal. And then whoever had the public comment, can we limit it to like a minute, a minute and a half?
Sorry to cut you off.
Hey, hello.
Please.
Thanks for all that. That was a super presentation. I totally get what you're trying to do. I think one big insight for me was just when I learned that some of the front of meter panels are not going to hit the transmission system. So that's a question I'd had for a long time. So it's great to have that answered. And I think a lot of what you're doing there is to try and, as you said there, to save the reduced amount of investments needed in the distribution grid as we electrify everything. I think the bit that I'm puzzled about is how does all the money flow and the benefits flow, because it's PG&E that owns the distribution grid, not PCE. And by putting a VPP to all the load shaping to reduce the load on the distribution grid, aren't they just going to walk away and say, hey, thank you very much for doing that, but where's the benefit to PCE? I think that's what I'm kind of wondering right now, and there's probably things that I don't know. So that's my question.
Yeah, I would say two prongs to my response there, Alistair, and thank you for the question. The first is that when we're talking about behind the meter DERs, your energy rates are comprised of 1, generation, and 2, transmission and distribution. And the prices go up and down at different hours. Our intention is to shift energy with a virtual power plant or reduce energy altogether by adding solar and battery storage, so that when you either use less energy in general and you're paying less on transmission and distribution, or you're using less energy specifically in those high price hours, again, when transmission and distribution charges are most expensive. So I think the second prong to your question, what is pertains more to front of meter DERs. If PCE is doing something to offset the the need for PG&E to upgrade their equipment, well, we're not benefiting, and neither are our customers, at least directly. So what are we gonna do there? And that's, I mean, that's a great question. That is a fundamental challenge to our front of meter DER vision. And we would need to do some policy advocacy to ensure that the investor-owned utility, or PG&E rather, has a means of providing value to the project or to our customers or to PCE, which is a huge lift. But that is kind of the way we think about it, is that there would need to be some sort of policy lever that we flex in order to unlock that value that you pointed out. Does that answer, any other?
Yeah, that answers the second part really very, very well. I mean, on the first part, when I look at my bill, I'm still seeing transmission and distribution kind of bundled, but I still see it on my bill from PG&E. And even though I might be getting that from a DER, it sounds to me like PG&E is still going to throw in the 5 cents a kilowatt hour for the transmission cost, regardless of whether it's using the transmission lines or not.
If they can.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question within those comments.
Well, if my PG&E bill, I get the 10 to 15 cents, whatever it is, from PCE, and then I get 25, 30, whatever it is for distribution, and there's 5 cents for transmission. It's kind of roughly broken down like that if you look at the rate schedules. But if the energy, is coming from a DER, I shouldn't be paying for the transmission. Or
I can jump in real quick, and then we'll probably have to kind of start wrapping up, I would think. But the short of it is that the utility charges those fees because the grid still functions as a backup in case your DER doesn't work. Your solar doesn't work at night, and so you still will receive electricity from the grid at night. And so that is the very simple way of stating a very complex issue, of that the grid functions as a backup in case your DER doesn't work, and so they're charging you for that.
So in other words, you can't, I mean, but you should be able to, in an ideal situation, be able to separate that out, that they're saving some money on the transmission side by having it distributed locally on the distribution grid. Otherwise, there's no financial incentive to put stuff on the distribution grid.
Jan and I are trying to just operate within the rate paradigms that are afforded to us, and that's kind of like a rate reform question.
Let's defer on that for now. I would like to request that, is anyone here uncomfortable with my?
We have one more public.
Oh, I'm
comment.
sorry. Go ahead.
Would you like to take that?
Sure.
Okay.
I didn't see it. I don't see anything.
Oh, yeah, you can't see it on there.
Okay.
Hey, hi, this is Eduardo. Great presentation. Thanks, Jana and Peter. So let us know when you move forward on these things. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So let us know when you get moving on this, and at the community level, we'll help in any way we can. I think that there's a lot of word of mouth that can be done here to help neighborhoods participate, etc. And also let us know if you are looking at particular bills. I know that there are bills in the current legislature that are aligned with some of these concepts, and we'll help in any way you can. So I believe there are at least a couple that are roughly in this direction. I do have one quick question. I know that there was an RFP for VPP software that was issued at the end of last year together with SVCE, and I haven't seen the results of that. I think that the result was supposed to happen at the end of last year, but I haven't seen anything. Do you have any update on that?
Yes, thank you, Eduardo. We do. We have selected a vendor. It is confidential for right now. And we plan to bring the recommendation to the board in May, I believe, for that vendor, inclusive of a contract for their services.
Oh, cool!
So
Great.
Very excited about that.
Very good. I'll be listening at the board. I'm very interested in, curious to see what did you guys choose. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay.
Thank you to the members of the public that listened and comment. Really appreciate your
Very
support.
much so.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I'm
same
rushing you
here.
guys through this, but if there's any objection, I'm not gonna make the motion, so what I'd like to do is make a motion to have the CAC support the goals at this time. If there's any objection to that, I think we should table it till next time.
I'll make a motion that we accept all 7
Okay,
goals.
great. Can I get a second?
Second it.
Thank you very much. Can we get a roll call on that? Just, I would simply say it like we said it. We support this. These goals.
Okay.
Real simple.
Yeah.
The motion is the CAC supports the proposed goals in the distributed energy resources plan.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and I think since we're all in person, I don't need to do individual roll
Great.
call. So
That's right.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Wait, you're aye, right? No one's opposed,
Okay,
right?
thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you again, members of the public, for that. We're going to move on
Real
quick.
quickly, I just want to thank Peter for coming and also for getting the stuff to us ahead of time so we could read it. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
sorry we didn't get it to you in more in
No,
advance,
it's
we meant
fine.
to,
No, it's
I'm
great.
very sorry.
It's great.
And I know we covered a number of complicated stuff, I know I've said this a few times now, but we really are open to
Hey,
talking about
Chris did a
anything
great
in
job on
detail.
that.
Yeah, for sure. But I appreciate that. And I want the conversation to keep going.
Yeah.
We always respond to your questions. Please keep bringing them to us.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, Kirsten Vanessa, Marketing Community Liaison update.
Yes. At the Sustainable San Mateo
Appreciate
County
it.
Awards Night last week, Peninsula Clean Energy gave a special recognition to our entire community of the County of San Mateo for all of the support from the advocates, early adopters, city and county staff, and elected officials who have all supported the Reach Codes effort. And so it wasn't, we took a departure from doing our all electric award. We didn't award a specific person. We recognized the entire movement and the incredible impact that has, and especially the fact that what we started here in San Mateo County in Silicon and Silicon Valley, of having whole counties get together and pass Reach Codes. That created so much momentum that 40% of the jurisdictions in California have passed Reach Codes. And the state adopted major components of our Reach Codes into the standard building code. So. And all good things only happen because people advocate for them. So thank you so much to the coalitions of advocates who really made that happen. And can we show the video? We made a video. You might recognize a few people.
For fossil fuels is that there are no clean fossil fuels.
It's important to decarbonize buildings because in San Mateo County, buildings are emitting about 30% of our greenhouse gas emissions.
And a breach code is something that a local city adopts to make the new code in their city go a bit beyond the state base code.
It made me feel relieved in many ways to see so many people come together for the climate, because initially learning about these issues, you would have thought, wow, this is existential, right? Who's paying attention to this? Why isn't this on the news every single day?
All electric buildings are actually cheaper to construct. They have good indoor air quality. They use clean energy. It's really just common sense.
Reach Codes will benefit residents of affordable housing by not just providing cleaner air with all electric buildings, but also opportunities for buying an electric car and reduced electricity bills.
That's producing clean air in buildings, clean air in the neighborhoods, more car charging opportunities, and just a better lifestyle for everyone.
It's really great that the Reach Code movement has taken off in the way that it has, and now 40% of jurisdictions in California have adopted these local green building codes for their cities.
And it really did start right here in San Mateo County. When a new state building code is drafted every 3 years, they really do look to some of the leading reach codes to determine what new measures might be possible.
And because of the work that local cities have done to advance these reach codes, the state has looked at the local cities as an example and have adopted that into the state building code, which is a huge success.
It started as a huge win city by city. It wasn't just like one person. It was a whole bunch of people from different walks of life.
Local officials stepped up and showed courage by listening to the advocates and considering what we were proposing, and then working with their staffs to move forward on reach codes.
I supported the reach codes here by not just advocating at city councils, but getting other advocates to tell their personal stories to their local elected officials. It takes collective action.
I find that this movement is so much bigger than, say, just one city, one school, one organization. And the ability for us as local organizations to come together and work on something greater has been something that I'm so impressed at. And I'm really looking forward to what's to come.
So this video now lives on Peninsula Clean Energy's YouTube channel, so you can find it online. Please use it in any way that you feel may be useful. In terms of educating people about what reach codes are, as we put up a new slate of model codes for cities to consider, and any other way that you may find this useful. And again, thank you so much for all of the support of all the community members who have spoken up on this issue. Let's see. Oh, another announcement. Our e-bike program is opening it up again next week.
Is that income qualified?
Income qualified, $1,000 off an e-bike. We've run the e-bike program in the past until we ran out of money, so it would sometimes sell out really quickly. Often it would sell out really quickly. This year it's different. We're going to keep it open year round. Yeah.
You'll need a lot more money.
We had budgeted more money. Okay. It's probably our most accessible program for renters, especially. And so from an equity point of view, it made more sense to increase the budget and keep it open year round.
But it's all income qualified.
It's all income qualified. Yeah.
Great. Oh, is there any public comment then?
No.
Okay.
No.
Any discussion?
I just want to thank Kristen, Vanessa, and the whole team for actually recognizing the importance of the reach codes. So I believe there is a assembly bill or state bill that somebody put out that wants to actually roll back the reach codes and actually prevent, I think, what the 2025 upgrades. And the idea is it's supposed to make it easier for people to rebuild in the fire areas. But I understand that it's the fossil fuel lobby is what I heard that's kind of behind that one. So it's, I think, even more important that, we, as advocates here and, get the word out to all your friends that we need to push forward in the 2025 code cycle and, encourage more reach codes because, rebuilding Altadena, rebuilding with the Pacific Palisades, that's an ideal thing to get a lot of, all electric homes that are really clean and green. And it's gonna save those owners money and reduce climate change and reduce fires, so. And this is really important.
Should one have any friends in other parts of the state where their elected officials may be weighing in on this bill? You may consider sharing that video with them.
We're gonna have pictures of those capes you had. at-
Oh, yes, so we had green Reach Code Hero capes as well.
Awesome.
They were fun.
Thank you.
Are there any working group reports?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The strategic working group is going to have a joint meeting with an ad hoc committee on April 17th.
Kind of a way.
That group is.
3 and 4.
Oh, wait.
Who's in the group?
The group is me as lead, Michael Clausen, Kathleen Goforth, John McKenna, and Remy for all of the group. Strategic work, we'll be working with the ad hoc group that's gonna be looking at the strategic plan.
They have a board group,
Pardon?
the ad hoc board group.
It's an ad hoc group that invited the strategic plan working group to come to the meeting.
But the ad hoc group is who, the board or the executive
It's
committee?
it's the committee, it's a CC working group, the people
No,
who set up the meeting, just use ad hoc as their term.
Okay, same thing, sorry.
no, it's not the same thing. I beg to differ. I don't want to get into it right here.
Okay,
It's
sorry.
not the same, it's not the same thing.
Okay,
It's different.
okay,
We may have a meeting later of the working group
okay.
to go over.
So what's the date of that?
April 17th. You'll get a notice of it, Mike.
Did we decide the time? Last I checked, there was a tie. On the Google.
I
Doodle.
saw a calendar invite.
It went out to the calendar invite. I'm gonna look it up right now.
It went out today. Okay,
11:30.
okay, sorry.
What does it say
I checked
again?
it last.
It's 11:30 to 1 on the
Was
17th.
that right on April 17th?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll add something I said earlier for everybody. We're supposed to have the memos, each working group is supposed to have their memos. I would like to ask each working group, start them, but don't complete them because we're gonna extend until we hear back from the board, possibly as late as September. So when I would start it now, because we're only turning them in like next month or now. So get the memos going, but keep the groups going too, if you're willing. Is there any other working group that wants to report? No, you do. Okay. See, many of us want to go to bed, so that's great. All right. Any public comment? None? Okay, great. Thank you. Upcoming topics for discussion.
Okay, let me give you a rundown what's coming up. Executive committee, as we mentioned, just gonna have it's like a brief discussion of the evaluation of the committees. Also, we'll be talking about flex market, which is sort of, if I understand this correctly, Peter, is sort of a large commercial version of shifting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, okay, good. And then coming up in May for the as Yana mentioned, we may be talking more about DERMS and residential solar and storage in May. DERMS, of course, being the Distributed Energy Resources Management System. And we also have slated the return of your favorite topic, GHG emissions of municipal policies and calculating those is currently on for May. So those are your two big topics for May, and then.
John is not here, but he would love to have a discussion about banking.
Yes,
Know that.
yes, I continue to bring that up with staff.
About, what was it?
Banking.
The banking investment side of things.
Yes. And then the May board meeting. Looking at a DERMS potentially a DERMS contract, a Caltrain rate. I missed the April board meeting, hold on. April board meeting.
So what is the Caltrain rate?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
I'll
go with that.
I assume we may be negotiating a special rate with Caltrain because they're such a major customer. Since we provide them electricity for their electric trains.
They're up 40% since they went electric.
I saw that. Fantastic. Fantastic.
40%, right?
Yeah.
If people use it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all on clean energy, so we are supplying them.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Other thing coming up at the board meeting in April is an overview of SB 540, which is the regionalization of the grid. And we are going to have a kind of presentation for and pros and cons of that with guest speaker Loretta Lynch and another guest speaker from Cal 68.
Did you say the next board meeting? I'm sorry, I missed that.
April board, yes.
April board meetings. That'll be an interesting one to listen in on. And potentially some contracts, some power purchase contracts.
Could I also request that we do have, if something's happened, that we get a report on what is going on with us? All right, thank you.
Great, yeah, so
I'm
yes.
moving spot
next meeting,
48.
what was it, calculations on greenhouse gas emissions and more distributed energy resources. So we got lined up for you all.
Great.
You're referring to the Josh Becker bill, correct?
Yes.
540.
Yeah.
It's 540?
Uh-huh.
Any public comment on on topics for discussion?
No.
Thank you, okay. Any committee member reports? I have one for next time, so I'll save it. All right, it is 9:01, we almost did it. We almost did it. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
So close.
We almost got it in.